All right, welcome. This is Tony Clark with another podcast. Today we are talking to state final official Jason Hyerdall. How you doing, Jason?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Well, thanks for taking time out to do this. I want to ask your opinion on what do you feel the state of Stalin is as far as our referees making that call here in the state of Illinois?
I'd have to say from from last year to this year, it certainly has gotten a lot better. I think we, as a state of Illinois, we've all come together and worked really hard to really be consistent with our call for sure on Stalling. And trying to just get everybody on the same page so that it's not inconsistent throughout the whole state. I have to say that with that being said, working the state tournament, I feel that we certainly stepped up our game from the year previously to this year to make it certainly be consistent and less of a concern for the coaches as not having it being called throughout the whole tournament the same way.
So how do you think it went during the season? Because you did a lot of varsity events. How did you feel it went just during the regular season?
I felt that it did really well. As you know, I mean, some people are still touch and go on it. Not being as consistent, maybe. But I think if one person starts to ramp it up, I feel that then it kind of it becomes contagious, and you feel more comfortable. I mean, I try to also speak with some of our younger officials because that is one of the a hard part in calling Stalling for younger officials, but coach them through the process as well. I think it all lies in being confident with your call. I mean, if call it with conviction, and what's the coach to say other than I guess he's pretty confident in making that call. So I feel that if you're really confident in it, then nobody's going to have any doubts that you're not making the right call.
So with the rule change, especially the rule change last year of adding backing out and pulling out to Stalling, how do you think that has affected how the officials see it? Do you think it's made it harder? Do you think it's made it easier?
I'd have to say that this year, I am just taking a look at my own critiquing of myself, looking at the way I was calling Stalling. I think we always were very aggressive on the person that was obviously backing out, but how we asked ourselves the question, well, how did they get there? Yes, they backed out, but I mean, was there the pressure a lot from the aggressive wrestler, but just pushing on him? And I think what I would have to say, my takeaway from it is that now we've nailed the guy who's backing up quite often. Yes, he's maybe putting some side steps in or to his movement, but now we have to start to look at the guy that's just doing the pushing. So we've gone one way where we've tried to from backing out, and I really think that they've got the idea. They've caught on to that, but now maybe in a coaching tactic is push on that kid. Well, now we haven't addressed that side of the coin. And I think that would be something that we need to probably start looking into now, is identifying the pushing, not necessarily just the backing portion of the Stalling.
Do you feel that with the changes in the rule to Stalling from the neutral position, do you feel that we have forgotten about the other criteria as far as playing the edge and avoiding contact? Do you think we've kind of gotten away from that in our call?
Yeah, I'd have to say yes, because we're just so focused on watching that one kid maybe back out, where we're not actually, um, watching that one kid who is pushing, but then all of a sudden he rotates himself to the edge, for his own protection, or just maybe even just or just always going there. I'd have to just, I say we've probably gotten a little bit maybe laxed on that, maybe not focusing on that portion of it too. That we need to stay consistent with that.
How do you think our stall calls from the top position or the bottom wrestler? How do you think we're doing there?
Um, I'd have to say that again, I will reflect on myself, and then trying to watch others as well. Um, I say that we are 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 doing all right. I'd have to say that the stalling seems to me as of late is now the bottom guy is really the guy that's really just not taking advantage of any opportunity that is there. Um, Even if the top wrestler is riding parallel, I still feel that if there is opportunity of space to work up, whether even being ridden with one arm, um, and your other arm is free. I mean, the ability to still get up is still there, and I don't think they're taking the opportunity to make that movement. And I've actually seen more, and maybe just in my own call, there's more stalling on the bottom, and I don't know if that's a little bit uh, of maybe some international wrestling that kids are doing a lot more of now, where they're getting the freestyle wrestling going, and that's kind of the portion of the wrestling that they're adapting to, and seeing if they can kind of bring that into wrestling in the folk style side.
You mean the ability to just not get turned and then a referee will reset the match in a neutral position?
Right, right. I feel that maybe that they're trying to cross that over a little bit, and they're kind of forgetting, what style of wrestling they're wrestling at that moment. And I say that they haven't forgotten, but they're just trying to use that as a tactic as well. And I think that they're not motivated sometimes on the bottom. I think we've done a pretty good job on the top as of wrestlers, just working. I mean, I think they seem to be trying to work a lot harder to get turns, taking opportunities when opportunities are there.
How do you feel about the stalling in the rear standing position?
I would say that I'm pretty quick with making sure that we're getting back to working, not just not hanging out back there. Um, I think when we were beginning of stalling, I think we really came when we started with the stalling. I think that was one of the positions that we attacked rather quickly. So now a lot of coaches have really pushed their kids to either cut the kid or drop down to a leg and work in that position, and trying to bring them down, um, back down as obviously quickly as possible. And if they can't, then just cut them. So I don't necessarily see just kids hanging out back there anymore. I feel that they are trying to work, and if they don't, they just cut them now.
As one of the IHSA clinicians, how do you feel we can better help that official, that 1 to 5 year experienced official? How do you think we can better help them to get the confidence to make that stall call?
All stall calls, or
yeah, all stall calls.
All stall calls. I would say Well, if at any opportunity time arises to, if you're a lower level official, working with the schools to obviously not have a varsity match um, be going at the same time as a lower level match, and actually highlighting um, with obviously the low numbers of officials that we have currently in our sport. I feel that, anytime that we don't have the opportunity to just sit sideline and watch these lower level officials, because obviously we're on the mat. So if we can get them to come over, and whether it's just to observe us, or even possibly that the time to get a whistle in their mouth to blow a varsity match, even too, we need to start working on with our high school level, our high schools, and seeing if they can't go to highlighting a varsity duel. So then that way we get that time to try to work with our lower level official, and just have them in the presence of what we're doing, so maybe they can pick up on some of that and instinctively pick it up, and then talk. Now I try to. I'll say, hey, did you understand why I made that call? And then try to get some feedback from them, so that then they can understand where you're coming from as well.
Now you're an official that works all level, high school, junior high, and IK clubs. Do your stall calls differ from level to level?
I would have to say at times. I mean, I would say in the lower, in the junior high level and in the IK levels, I think sometimes you can read your wrestlers a little bit. So maybe sometimes you might be a little bit more verbal at the start, but once you kind of start making your verbal commands, then you need to start hitting the stalling as it was, say on the varsity level of high school wrestling. But obviously we have to start getting them to in the same role of realizing if they are stalling. I mean, I actually I'd like to say that in the lower level junior high and the IKs or the club wrestling, these kids are goers. So I mean, honestly, sometimes you don't even. I very seldom actually call stalling in some cases, because they just like to go. So you don't necessarily see the strategic maybe back out, in the sense, maybe they're doing it for a reason. And so you're seeing a lot. You're just seeing a lot of active wrestling, good or bad. It's just they're just going for their 4 minutes of wrestling, if that's the timetable that they're wrestling on. So I actually kind of sometimes see stalling going down a little bit, just because I think they're more active. I really do.
What advice, and this will, you can freestyle this and just throw out there whatever you feel after this question, but what advice do you give to that official that wants to be able to work the IHSA state tournament? What do you tell that person right now?
I have to say that a lot is mat time. You really, I mean, you got to put in the time to get the benefit. As I said before, our official numbers is down, so obviously there is plenty of matches to do. I realize that this is not everybody's number one job. It is a side job for some. Sometimes part time. Sometimes it's just something just to pass a little time. I realize that not everybody is invested, but if you want to be a state official, I would hope that your investment is a lot higher. You're not looking to only do, a few matches a year and hope for the result to be that you become a state official. I think it's all about time put in. So that's what you're going to get back. I think a lot of us are working a lot of matches, and not that we want to be, but we have to be just obviously to keep our sport going and keep matches and schools and going in the sense of having the ability to have wrestling. So I think a lot of us are overworked just because we have to be. But that and that's purely your prerogative. If you want to work as much as you want to work, so I think just put in time. And honestly, another part is just being a fly on the wall and being in the conversation and just listening. I think that's a big part of it too, and observing. And just really just trying to become a student of the sport is another part that I would say that is a big part of it too. You got to listen. You got to be open. You got to be coachable. No different than when you were, if you were, most probably are or have been. You were a student at one time. That still doesn't, that never goes away. We always got to be willing to learn and being coachable at any point in time.
All right, Jason, that's pretty much close to our time limit. I want to thank you for your taking the time out to do this podcast for us. We really appreciate it. Any closing remarks?
No, I have to say, I thank you for having me on, and hope to do some more at any point in time, and have a good day.
All right. Thanks, Jason. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.